Hello everyone and welcome to a special video in which I am going to be making my predictions for who is going to win which of their matchups in the Real Champion Tournament. Basically, who's winning everything in round one, who's getting through the semifinals, and who is ultimately going to be the Real Champion. But before I get into that, as always, if you haven't already, definitely be sure to like and subscribe. I'd like to try and hit at least 100 likes on today's video. Now then, without any further ado, let's get right down to business, shall we? So, we're going to go in what I assume is going to be the order of the fights. We have our first matchup confirmed already, that being Gaolang versus Jurota. This is a really good matchup because I'm not entirely sure who would win this fight. I'm not entirely sure who I want to win this fight, which is really what makes it the better matchup for me. I really like both of them, but between the two, I think it's much more likely that Gaolang is going to win. Gaolang has not had a real on-screen win since he fought Canada. You know, he lost to Agito, and even though he beat the fucking brakes off Carlos, he still lost by a ring out. So, you know, won the battle, lost the war. We need a real undisputed victory for Gaolang. I think this fight means a lot more for his character than it does for Jurota. Going just beyond the narrative stuff here, Gaolang, I think, is in a much better position for fighting Jurota, because while Agito is generally a much stronger fighter than Gaolang has been, you know, as of now, you know, he's high tier, whereas Gaolang is just higher tier. You know, he's Agito, and Gaolang is not Agito. Agito is not as good of a striker as Gaolang. He's stronger overall. He's a much more well-rounded fighter. I mean, he pretty much is an all-rounder. But Gaolang has expertise in striking that Agito does not have. And that's something that can work quite well as a counter against Jurota, who is a master, the master at grappling. And, you know, while Jurota has learned some striking, his striking is not great. You know, it's like Waka's grappling. So if he at any point tries to get into a battle of strikes with Gaolang, he's going to get his ass beat. Another thing is that grappling has, for a very long time, been considered a weakness of Gaolang's, mostly because his fight was ended by Agito pulling out grappling. So showing that he is able to overcome someone who is the pinnacle of grappling martial arts would be probably the best way to showcase how much he has grown since the Purgatory tournament. So, prediction for the first match, Gaolang moves on to the semifinals. We then get to what I assume is going to be the second fight. Sakigake Hiraku versus Justin Kitagawa, the fight between our two new characters here. This gives the fight a degree of uncertainty, because no one is a returning character going up against a new character. No one has any real narrative backing that gives good reason for them to win this fight. They presumably are just going to win entirely on their merits as combatants. And given that we don't know anything about either of their fighting styles thus far, it's really hard to make a prediction. However, ignoring what I just said 10 seconds ago, I'm going to make this prediction based on Sandro's tendencies when it comes to who he has win fights like this. Between the very cheery and energetic guy and the very calm, stoic, and confident guy, I imagine the calm and stoic guy is going to win. So based on that alone, in the meantime, I tepidly predict that Hiraku is going to win his fight. Although I would prefer if Justin moves on to the semifinals. I don't know, he looks like a more interesting fighter. He's much more distinct to have in the roster, and it's usually much more entertaining to have more energetic and cheery characters, especially when you look at all the portraits on this roster, and most of these guys look like they have a stick up their ass. So, you know, he would certainly keep things a little more, I don't know, enthusiastic once we get to the semifinals. But alas, Sandro is Sandro. Hopefully I'm wrong about this one. This is the one I want to be wrong about the most. Moving on to the third match of round one, we have Julius Reinhold versus Kano Agito. This will be really cool to see because it's been a big question for a long time of how do the martial arts masters stack up against Julius. He's kind of an outlier. He's kind of a weird wild card when it comes to fighting people who are really good martial artists because he's huge. He's ridiculously durable. He has ridiculous damage output. How does someone like Kuroki or Agito fight someone like Julius? It's just really hard to imagine them fighting and beating someone like Julius. So I imagine we're going to see that in this fight because, you know, I think Agito's going to win. I don't think Julius is beating Agito. He just, I don't know, he doesn't have that mastery to him. He's really strong. He's absurdly strong, and he has his god-killing rock drill, or whatever it's called in German. But that is not enough to beat Agito. Agito is a master of martial arts, and martial arts are made to beat someone who's stronger than you. I think that's going to be showcased very overtly in their fight. I think Agito wins. I don't think many people question that. Though I do think it is going to be a very cool fight. It's going to be very interesting to see how it plays out. Then we get to the last fight of round one, Lolong versus Ramon. And as much as it pains me to say it here, well, I'm a little conflicted on this one actually. I think Lolong's going to win. I think it'd be really weird for Lolong to lose his second fight after losing his first one. And it's against just this new guy that shows up. Just this new guy that shows up is stronger than the king of purgatory. I don't buy it. Even as cool as Ramon is, as cool as he looks, his design is great. He's very distinctive. I really like his vibe. If he were going up against, well, honestly, if we switched him out with like Sakigake, you know, I wouldn't mind if Ramon beat Justin and then Lolong kicked Sakigake's ass. I wouldn't mind that. You know, this guy looks like someone I want to see more than one round out of. Are we going to? Probably not. I think it's a very, very small likelihood that this guy will have what it takes to beat Lolong. Especially given that Agito is almost definitely winning his fight. We're not going to say no to having Lolong versus Agito here. We got to see the fight between the two kings of their respective promotions. So, based on those things, I think Lolong's going to win. So for our round two, our semifinals matchups, we have Gaolang versus Sakigake and Agito versus Lolong. Now, I think these get pretty obvious from here. Gaolang is almost definitely going to beat Sakigake. He's beating the new character. I don't care how impressive his performance is. If Gaolang is making it into the semifinals of a tournament in which Agito is on the other side of it, I think Gaolang's going to win. And, we're getting to what I think this tournament's leading to here, in which, we get to the other side. We have Agito versus Lolong. Maz did a video talking about how a fight between them would go like a year ago. It's like a 2-hour-long video. It's also a very good video, so if you have 2 hours, I recommend you go and watch it. I think Agito will win. I just think he's better. I just think he's the better all-rounder. He's just fucking stronger than him. And, of course, Agito grows stronger. Just kind of indefinitely when he fights people that push him. I think Lolong has what it takes to push Agito, but I think Agito's going to win. And then we get to our finals matchup, which, is going to be Gaolang versus Agito. We get a rematch of their legendary fight from the Annihilation tournament. It's probably going to be worse, because Omega is just not as good as Ashura. The fights just aren't as good. But it's probably going to be great anyway. And between the two of them, I still think Agito wins. I don't think that's changing. Agito, he's one of the top dogs amongst the Kengan fighters. In terms of people who still actively fight in the Kengan matches, the only person I'd say who is stronger than him is Oma. And some people disagree with that. Some people think Agito is stronger than Oma. So, whichever side of that you land on, probably agree he is still one of the strongest fighters in the Kengan Association. And Gaolang is also one of the strongest, but he is not someone who I think is in the conversation for the strongest. Now, for any potential variations in this, I think if Jurota wins the fight against Gaolang, this first fight, I think Lolong will actually beat Agito, and then the finals match of this tournament is going to be between the two Kings of Purgatory. So these are our two routes through the tournament. Either Gaolang wins the first fight, and we get him versus Agito in the finals, or Jurota wins, and we get him versus Lolong in the finals. Those are the two paths forward for us. If we get some outliers here, like if some of my predictions go wrong, Justin wins, I don't think that really mixes anything up too much. If Julius wins, I have no idea what's happening. If Ramon wins, he's probably still getting beaten by Agito, in which case, it's probably going to be Agito versus Gaolang in the finals. I don't think we're going to get a rematch of Agito and Jurota in the finals because their fight was so recent. It doesn't have the sort of build-up after the fact for like a grudge match. And also, them both being in the tournament has just sort of really retroactively harmed what was otherwise a really good fight, just by making it not really mean anything, unfortunately. But that's neither here nor there. That's not part of what we're talking about today. So for a quick recap, Gaolang versus Jurota, I think Gaolang's going to win. Sakigake versus Justin, I think Sakigake is going to win, which means we're going to get Gaolang versus Sakigake in the semifinals, in which case I think Gaolang wins that. For the other side of the tournament, winner of Julius versus Agito is going to be Agito. Lolong versus Ramon, the winner is going to be Lolong. We get Agito versus Lolong, I think Agito is going to win. And then in the finals match between Agito and Gaolang, Agito wins again. So there you have it, folks. That's my prediction for how the real champion tournament is going to unfold. We're going to find out over the next several months if I'm correct or not, which of my predictions are going to be right and which ones are going to be wrong. That's always one of the most exciting parts of the tournament, and I think that's why this is going to be the most any of us have enjoyed Omega probably since the last tournament. Well, since Agito versus Jurota, but if you didn't care that much for that fight, probably actually since Seki versus Okubo. We had a few good things since Berserker Bowl. But, for the longest stretch of time in a while, this is probably going to be the most we've enjoyed Omega. But what do you guys think? Do you disagree with any of my predictions? Be sure to share your own down in the comments, because with that, that's all I've got for today's video. If you guys enjoyed, definitely be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I do Kengan Omega chapter reactions every week that we get a new chapter. If you enjoyed discussing Kengan Omega with other people, or you guys enjoy the content I produce this channel, I highly suggest you check out my Discord server. I have a link to that down in the description. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys around. Take care.